Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's Microeconomics lecture. I'm Dr. Magda Mustafa Sadiq from National University Sudan, Faculty of Administrative Science. Today's lecture focuses on one of the most important topics in production economics, returns to scale, long-run cost, and economies of scale. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to explain the meaning of returns to scale, distinguish between increasing constant and decreasing returns to scale, differentiate between short-run and long-run cost, explain economies and diseconomies of scale, interpret the long-run average cost curve. These concepts are extremely important because they explain why some firms become highly competitive while others become inefficient as they grow. Let us begin. What is returns to scale? Before discussing cost, we first need to understand what economists mean by returns to scale. Returns to scale describe how output changes when all production inputs increase together by the same percentage. Notice something very important. In the long run, firms can change every input. This can include labor, machinery, buildings, technology, land. Unlike the short run, nothing is fixed. For example, suppose a furniture company doubles the number of workers, doubles the number of machines, doubles the factory size. The question becomes, how much will production increase? Will it double? Will it more than double? Or will it increase by less than double? The answer determines the firm's return to scale. Types of returns to scale. There are three possible outcomes. First, increasing returns to scale. This occurs when output grows faster than inputs. For example, if inputs increase by 20%, output increases by 35%. This is excellent news for the business. Why? Because the company becomes more productive. This usually happens because of better specialization, improved technology, efficient management, bulk purchasing. Example, think about Samsung. As Samsung produces millions of smartphones, production becomes increasingly efficient, reducing cost per phone. Second, constant returns to scale. SCRS. Here, if inputs increase by 30%, output also increases by 30%. Efficiency remains exactly the same. The business grows without becoming either more or less productive. Many mature manufacturing firms operate under constant returns for long periods. Decreasing returns to scale. This is the opposite. Inputs increase substantially, but output increases by a smaller percentage. For example, inputs rise by 40%. Output rises by 20%. The firm becomes less efficient. Common reasons include poor communication, management problems, bureaucracy, difficulty coordinating many employees. Large organizations sometimes experience this challenge. Let us come to economies of scale. Now let us move to a closely related concept, the economies of scale. Economies of scale occur when producing more goods reduces the average cost per unit. In simple words, larger production leads to lower cost. Why? Because fixed costs are spread over many products. Imagine buying one printer for an office. Whether you print higher pages or 10,000 pages, the printer cost stays the same. The more pages produced, the lower the cost per page. This is the basic idea behind economies of scale. Let us take a real-life example, Amazon. Its automated warehouses reduce labor cost and improve efficiency. Walmart purchases products in enormous quantities, allowing suppliers to offer discounts. Toyota uses highly efficient assembly lines to reduce production costs. Samsung produces electronic devices in massive quantities, reducing average manufacturing cost. These companies became global leaders partly because they achieved economies of scale. Look to the formula to the left of the real-world examples. Average cost, AC, equal total cost divided by quantity of output. So if the quantities of output increases, the average cost falls. This is when economies of scale are achieved. Cost in the short run. Now let us compare the short run and the long run. In the short run, at least one production factor is fixed. This creates two types of cost. Fixed cost. These remain constant regardless of output. Examples include rent, insurance, permanent salaries. So even if production stops, these costs still exist. We have also variable cost. Variable costs change as production changes. Examples include raw materials, electricity, hourly wages. The more products a company makes, the higher these costs become. Example, suppose a bakery rents a building for 1 year. Whether it produces 100 loaves or 10,000 loaves, the rent remains the same. Therefore, rent is a fixed cost in the short run. Long run cost. Now we move to the long run. In the long run, every production factor becomes variable. The business can move to another factory, purchase more equipment, hire additional workers, expand production, reduce production. Because firms can adjust everything, there are no fixed costs in the long run. This is flexibility allows firms to operate at the most efficient scale. Example, when the bakery's 1-year lease expires, the owner may rent a larger building, build a new factory, relocate. Therefore, rent is no longer fixed. The relationship between short-run and long-run average cost. Now let us understand one of the most important graphs in microeconomics. Every factory has its own short-run average cost curve, or simply we write it as SRAC. When firms expand, they move from one factory size to another. Each factory has its own short-run average cost. The long-run average cost curve, or LRAC, is formed by connecting the lowest points of many short-run average cost. curve. Economists often call it the envelope curve. It represents the lowest possible production cost for every output level. Look to the curve, the long-run average cost curve. Let us interpret this graph. The long-run average cost curve usually has a U-shaped. There are three sections. First section, the curve slopes downward. Average cost decreases. This represents economies of scale. As output increases, average cost decreases. And this is what we call economies of scale. In the middle section, the curve becomes nearly flat. The average cost remains constant as output increases. The firm operates at its most efficient size. The final section, the curve slopes upward as output increases. The average cost increases. This represents diseconomies of scale. This graph summarizes the entire production process in the long run. These economies of scale. Now let us examine why costs begin increasing. These economies of scale happen when firms become too large. Growth begins creating inefficiency. There are several reasons. Managerial diseconomies. Managers struggle to supervise large organizations. Decision-making slows. Communication becomes more difficult. Labor diseconomies. Employees may become less productive because of overcrowding, lack of motivation, or excessive specialization. Material diseconomies. Large firms require more complex purchasing systems. Transportation costs increase. Coordination becomes more difficult. As a result, average production costs begin rising. Now let us check our standing. You have to answer the following questions. Returns to skill, for example, the first question, what are returns to scale? What are returns to scale? These are true-false questions. True-false questions. Okay, so you have to solve it and upload it to my page. You have 10 true-false questions. Now let us summarize today's lecture. Today we learned that returns to scale explain how output responds when all inputs increase. There are three types of returns to scale: increasing, constant, decreasing. The short run includes fixed and variable cost. The long run has only variable inputs. Economies of scale reduce average cost. These economies of scale increase average cost. The long run average cost curve is formed from multiple short run average cost curves and illustrates the most efficient production scale. Thank you for your attention. Before our next lecture, I encourage you to review today's concepts carefully. Practice interpreting long-run average cost and short-run average cost graphs. Think of real companies that benefit from economies of scale and those that may suffer from diseconomies of scale. In our next session, we will continue exploring important microeconomic concepts and apply them to real business decisions. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lecture. Have a wonderful day.